Okay. So this is only an exam-oriented session on linguistics. What I've done is, first of all, I have listed the questions that I have collected from the previous year papers. Okay. These are the set of essay questions, the 9 essay questions, followed by short notes, about 14 of them. Okay. Here, these two questions marked in blue, Bharopiyam, Bhasha Parivaram Adhikritya Prabandham, Bharopiyam or Bhasha Parivara. It can be anything. The question can be either way. It can be about Bharopiyam or there can be another question on Bhasha Parivaram. Either way, the answer is the same. And Varnanam Sthana Prayatna Vivekam Adhikritya Prabandham Likhata. These two questions have been asked invariably every year. Okay, so you can more or less, it is a given that this question will definitely be there in the paper. So pay attention to these two. Apart from these two, more oftenly asked question are 1 and 8. Artha Parinati Bhedan, Sodaranam Nirupaya, and Dwani Niyaman, Sodaharanam Varnayata. These 4 questions have been asked very repeatedly. So if we concentrate on these 4, we should be able to answer something from linguistics parts. It should not be difficult at all. This is my analysis of the previous year papers. Then, as far as the short notes are concerned, I have made a list of about 14 of them. I have not included 3 or 4. I will tell you what they are. One is about Prakrita Bhasha, then Avestha Bhasha. Avestha Bhasha, while we study about the Indo-European language, you will know that it is the Iranian language based on Zend-Avesta, the Zoroastrianism religion, their language. But we don't have enough input about that. We know that it belongs to the Indo-Iranian group of the Indo-European language. Apart from that, there is no other detail available, so we may really not be able to write much for a short notes. Therefore, I have not included that in my notes. Similarly, we did not get any answer for Swaratantu. There was another question, it was also asked only once. Swaratantu was not available. I was not able to gather the information for that. That and Dwani Upachaya. So these 4 questions on short notes I have not included because I was not able to get any proper answer. So with that intro, let us go into the subject then. I have not written this in any particular order, just one question after the other. I have anyway mentioned the question here on top so you will know what it pertains to. The first one is Artha Parinati Vedan Sodaharanam Nirupayada. Now, first of all, what is Artha Parinati? Artha Parinati is basically how the meaning of a word has changed. The change can be like what was there during the Vedic times, then during the medieval period, and what is currently used. How the meanings have changed. So that is what we are going to look under Artha Parinati. So first of all, we know, having studied Dwani and Kavya Prakasha, we know that meanings can be Mukhyartha, Gaunartha, Vyangyartha, and Yogikartha, etc. Sometimes, based on the context, also the meaning can change. So this is the example given. It seems Brahma, he blessed Devas, Asuras, etc. with the. He said, "I'm giving you the." So based on their perspective, each one of them, they understood it as different things. So Devas took it as Daya, Asuras took it as Damana, but humans took it as is that based on the perspective or the situation or the context, the meaning can really change. So Artha Parinama can occur based on this. Now, there are different ways in how meaning can change. The meaning can really become elevated or it can become narrowed down. So these are all a couple of classifications that are given under types of Artha Parinati. The first one amongst it is Artha Sankocha. As you know, Sankocha itself is very meaningful. You know that it's a commonly used word, narrowing. So Artha Sankocha, in that the meaning actually becomes narrowed down. Something that was referring to something wide has been brought down, or the meaning has been limited to a particular sense. So that comes under Artha Sankocha. So here the example given is Modaka. Looks like in earlier days, Modaka was used to refer any sweet. Anything that was sweet was called Modaka. But Today, in the current day scenario, you know that the particular thing which we do for Ganesh Chaturthi, that in that particular shape, that is the only thing which is known as modaka. So by modaka, we understand only that category of sweet. So from a wider meaning, it has been brought down to a narrower sense, representing only one particular variety of sweet. So this is Artha Sankocha. Similarly, Annam. Annam, anything that is taken, anything that is eaten, any edible item was called Annam. But current day scenario, we know that Annam only refers to rice. So this is another example. Similarly, Mrigha. Mrigha is widely used in the sense of any animal. In fact, in Kannada also we say Mrigha means animal. But in Sanskrit, the meaning would mean only deer. When you say Mrigha, you more think of a deer than the general category of animals. So these three are examples for Artha Sankocha. Very closely related to Artha Sankocha is Arthapakarsha. Okay? Arthapakarsha, here there is a degeneration of meaning. Artha Sankocha and Arthapakarsha are very similar. In my understanding, what I felt was when the category is not changed. For example, Modaka, it was representing the category of sweets. Now it represents one particular sweet. Similarly, Mrigha, it was referring to the whole group of animals. Now it is one particular animal. So when the category is not changed, but only the meaning is reduced, it belongs to Artha Sankocha. But in case of Arthapakarsha, a different meaning of a lower level can be obtained. So that belongs to Arthapakarsha. I think somebody's microphone is not muted. Can you please mute yourself? There is a disturbance in between.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So that I felt was Arthapakarsha. Arthapakarsha, it is again similar to Artha Sankocha. The meaning becomes narrowed down, but it does not stay within the same group or same category. The new meaning can be something totally different. That is Arthapakarsha. For example, Jugupsa. Jugupsa is actually derived from Gup Dhatu. Initially, it meant to hide, but today it means disgust. Okay, so it means something totally different now. So this comes under Arthapakarsha, and disgust is definitely a lower meaning than to hide. To hide is a normal thing. It may be for good or bad, but disgust, you know that it is more of a negative emotion. So disgust is the degenerated meaning of the word Jugupsa, and so it comes under Arthapakarsha. Similarly, Maharaja was used only to refer an emperor or a Chakravarti. But today in Hindi, you can see that when you say Maharaj, it refers to a cook. Okay, he is nowhere connected to the king, but the cook is called the Maharaj. Then Mahapatra in olden days referred to a Vidvamsa, but today the term Mahapatra is also used to denote dead people. Okay, so this is about Arthapakarsha and Artha Sankocha. Remember that Sankocha narrowing down, Apakarsha also degeneration. So this is what is indicated by these two. These are the first two categories of Artha Parinati or change in the meaning of the word. Then, quite contrast to this are the next two categories, Artha Vistriti and Arthotkarsha. Artha Vistriti, you can understand that it is exactly the other way. There is a widening of the sense of the word itself. For example, Gavekshana, Gavam Ikshana. So it typically meant to look out for cows which have not returned to the cowshed in the evening. Gavam Ikshana. But now it is used in a sense of searching in general. So if you have to search for something, Gavekshana is the word that is used. Quite not, I mean, not directly related to this, but in Kannada also I think Gavakshi is the term used for window. So through which we see. So that also can be related to Gavekshana and as Artha Vistriti that has happened to the word Gavekshana and the current meaning that is there for Gavekshana. Okay. Similarly, Taila. Based on the etymology of the word Taila, you can understand that which is being derived from Tila. The oil that is essentially got from Tila, Yellu, is Taila. But Taila now refers to all the oils, all categories of oils, irrespective of what it is got from. You can have Narikela Taila, you can have Bhakshirabala Taila, any Taila, it only means oil. Okay, the base may be from something else. It may be derived from groundnut or from coconut. It is still called taila. So there is a widening of the meaning of the word taila. Then kadambari. Kadambari, it was, as you all know, it is a very famous work of Bana. But now the word kadambari is used to indicate novel, and it does not refer to that particular work. Similarly, Nataka, if you remember the classification given by Bharata, it is one of the type of 10 type of Rupaka, I think. It is one of the 10 types of Rupaka. It is a special type of drama, but now it is generally used to refer drama. Drama in general is Nataka. The other categories we hardly know today. They are hardly used today. So Nataka in general refers to drama. So previously it was only one type, but now it covers the entire this one of drama. Then Talapatra, Patra, the word Patra, it was derived from Talapatra because in those days they were using only palm leaves for writing. So Patra is derived from the leaf part of it. But today in current day scenario, we still use the term Patra for letters, although it is written on paper. We still use the term Patra. So there has been a widening of the meaning of the word Patra in the current day context. Then, Artha Utkarsha. As I told you, Artha Vistriti and Artha Utkarsha will be similar. Whether they are in the same category or different category is what differentiates Vidarsha. You have an elevated meaning totally. Here, the meaning changes from something that was inferior to something more superior in the current day situation. Gaurava, for example, is derived from Guru. Guru, you know, is heavy. Okay, so Gurutva, it indicated something to do with Gurutva. But now it is used as a mark of respect. Purnatva is what is indicated today. So there is a complete elevation of the meaning of the word Gaurava. Similarly, Sahasa was meant only as a word to indicate Vyabhichara or Hatya, but current day it actually means a courageous deed. Okay, he has shown a lot of Sahasa. Is the context where he used the term Sahasa, so that means courageous deeds. Then Drishta, yeah.
Can we go a little slower, one step slower?
Okay.
Because let it sink in so that we can remember things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Sahasa, which was Vyabhichara or Hatya, has changed to courageous deeds in the current situation. Then the next example is Drishta or Lajjahina, which it was meant for Lajjahina initially, but today it is totally different and it means Dhairyashali. Mugdha, which meant Murkha or an idiot, is now it means Sarala or more like an innocent. When you say Mugdha, it actually means innocent. So the word has been given a different status altogether. I'll just quickly go back to this 4 so that we will have a small revision. Maybe I just rushed through because I've been reading it so many times. I'm a little fast with it. Okay. So Artha Parinati, basically change in the meaning of the word. The changes could have happened over a period of time. Why the change happened, we will look at it later. But what are the ways in which the changes happened? It has been categorized. First, we have seen 4 main categories, of which the first one is Artha Sankocha. Sankocha, you know, is narrowing down. So, Artha Sankocha is the new meaning is actually lower or in a narrowed down sense compared to the original meaning. Examples for Artha Sankocha would be Modaka. Modaka in earlier times, it referred to general category of sweet. So when you say Modaka, it meant any sweet. But today we know that Modaka, the moment you say Modaka, there's only one picture that comes into your mind. It is typically the Modaka that you do for Ganesh Chaturthi. So Modaka, the meaning has been reduced to a narrower sense of that particular sweet in the current day scenario. So this is Artha Sankocha. Similarly, Annam. Annam was used to refer anything that was edible. But now it is used only for rice, only for one category of cereal, and that is rice. Then Mriga, even today in Kannada, Mriga means animal. Similarly, in Sanskrit also, in earlier days, it was used to refer only animals. But now it is narrowed down, and mriga represents only one category of animal, that is the bee. Then, Arthapakarsha is very similar to Arthasankocha, except that in Arthasankocha, the category still remains the same. Modaka referred to sweets, now it refers to one sweet. Mriga referred to animals in general, now it refers to deer. So the category is the same, but in case of Artha Apakarsha, it may be a totally new different sense and in a lower status that too. So it is a degenerated meaning, and the new meaning can be may not be really related to the original meaning. So there is a complete change. Examples of this are Jugupsa. Jugupsa, the word has been derived from Gup Dhatu. Initially it meant to hide. Okay, but today we know that Jugupsa is used for disgust. Okay, so disgust is not in any way connected to hide. So we know that there is an Artha Apakarsha, or the degeneration of the meaning of the original sense of the meaning has got degenerated, and we have the new meaning, disgust. Similarly, Maharaja was Chakravarti or an emperor. But today, Maharaj in Hindi, it means a cook. It refers to a cook. Then, Mahapatra was a Vidvamsa or a scholar. But today, the term is used to represent dead people. Okay. So, this is about Arthasankocha and Arthapakarsha. Quite contrast to these two.
One second. Hatti sir had asked for the book, where it is in the book. So, sir, Bhasha Shastra, book number 3, somewhere near page 10, 11. Kannada book ali. Yeah, Harini, please continue.
Yeah, I didn't find these things in English book, so I don't think it's there in the English material. The Kannada material may have it. Anyway, Arthavistriti. This is quite contrast. Here, there is an elevation of the meaning, a higher status of the meaning is got. For example, Gavekshana. Gavam Ikshana actually meant to look out for cows that have not returned, to search for the lost cows. But today, Gavekshana actually means searching. It could you could be searching anything, but the term Gavekshana means searching. Similarly, Taila. Taila, the oil that was derived from Tila was called Taila. But today it refers to any oil in general. It could be coconut oil or groundnut oil. You still call it Taila. So this is Artha Vistruti. Similarly, Kadambari, we all know the famous work of Bana. It was called Kadambari. But today, Kadambari means any novel in general. Similarly, Nataka, which was actually one of the types, one of the 10 types of Rupakas according to Bharata, which is one of the types of drama, the term today is used to represent dramas in general. Then, Talapatra. Patra, what we understand as letters today, was originally derived from Talapatra, where it meant the palm leaves. Patra, you know, is leaf. So, palm leaves, since that was used for communication or writing. So, Talapatra was the term which was used to mean that in that particular context. But today, although we don't use Talapatra, we still use the term Patra to refer to letters, even if they are made on paper. Then, Artha Utkarsha, again here an elevated sense of meaning or a higher status has been accorded to the word. Example here would be Gaurava. Gaurava is derived from Guru. Guru is heavy. So Gurutva, anything that is heavy, the heaviness to show about that, Gaurava was the term that was used. But today we know that Gaurava is used more as a mark of respect, something to show your respect. So here it is Purnatva, that is being implied by the word Gaurava. Then Sahasa, the old meaning Hatya, but today it could mean any deed, any courageous deed is called a Sahasa. Drishta meant Lajjahina, but today Drishta means Dhairyashali. Mugdha actually meant a Murka or an idiot in the old times, but current meaning of Mugdha would be Sarada, or more of an innocent person. He is not an idiot anymore. So this is about the first 4 types. Then Arthantra Prapti. Okay. Sometimes what happens is uh, due to Arthantra Prapti, I mean you have different meanings of the word, like Pashanda, Viragi, which terms are ascetics. Okay, but in Kavyas, if you take it as a poetic, I've seen that they were used to mean someone who is not very reliable. Similarly, Grantha was actually a collection of the Talapatra or the palm leaves that were very well arranged. So the arrangement of the palm leaves was actually called Grantha, even though it was just palm leaves and arranged in a book which has very high ideals of life, like Ramayana, etc. So these are granthas in current scenario. Bhrata, it seems it referred to a person who does not belong to the group, an odd man out, was the original meaning of the word Bhrata, but now it means a brother. Okay, so basically remember, Artha Parinati, you have 4 types mainly. We have seen the 4 types. Then, now let us try to find out why the changes have occurred, the reasons for the changes in the words. Artha Parivartanasya Karanani. Now, there are various reasons why it has occurred. The first one would be poetic liberty. Okay, sometimes the poet could just change the word by dropping certain aksharas or adding a few just to make it suit the chandas. Or the poetic liberty itself, he can alter the meaning depending on the context. And over a period of time, this changed or the altered meaning itself will come into practice. So this is what might have happened with a few set of words. Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, this could result in either apakarsha or utkarsha. So poetic liberty can result in either of the change. There can be an elevated sense, or there can be a diminished sense of the word meaning. So either things can occur with poetic liberty. For example, parangata. Okay, parangata is one who the other side, but now it actually means a realized soul. So maybe some poet would have used it repeatedly to mean a realized soul, and now it has become the vogue. So now we use it only in that sense, that it refers to one realized soul, one who has attained salvation. Okay, so that is Parangata. Then the word Madhuravani used to refer only the sound of birds, but now it means anybody who speaks sweetly has a Madhuravani. So that which was limited only to birds has been used now to refer to general sweet voice, or someone who speaks sweetly is said to have a Madhura Vani. This is the first reason for change in the meaning of word. Then the second was attributed to the geographical environment. What they say is, the example given here is Ushtra. Okay, it seems Ushtra earlier meant only a buffalo. Okay, then as people migrated to different ends and they settled in different places, it so happened that the Aryans migrated to regions where they did not find a buffalo. So what they found there was camel instead, and they continue to call the camel as Ushtra, and today we still think that camel is the Ushtra. So Ushtra, the term which was initially used for buffaloes, due to geographical environment change, that term was applied for camel, and presently we use the term Ushtra only for camel. Okay, maybe Ushtra was used more in the sense of beast of burden. I think that is my understanding. So because Mahisha, the term has been there since immemorial. I don't know why we called it buffalo or Ushtra, but anyway, this is one reference. Just remember it as an example. Maybe Ushtra referred to a beast of burden. So in whichever area they are, depending on that region, whichever is the beast of burden there was called Ushtra. So a camel acquired the term beast of burden in the desert, and that Ushtra stuck only with the camel. That term stuck only with the camel, and today we understand camel as Ushtra. So this is about change in the geographical environment. Then, change in the social environment. Okay, here we have a Kannada example. The term katte. Katte means any platform. We are generally used to seeing in villages you have a raised platform around a tree where people sit, they hold their panchayat or they sit and they talk, just gossiping. It's in the middle of the village. So that was called katte, a raised platform. Or in another sense, it was also used to mean a bund which was built to stop the flow of water. Kannambadi katte. So we know that katte was used as to check the flow of water. So in current day scenario, where we have katte is mostly in the kitchens, because earlier people used to sit down and they used to have big stoves, log stoves, and they used to work. I mean, sitting on the floor. But today the cooking happens only with standing in the standing position, where you have a raised platform and the stove is placed up. So this raised platform in urban house has acquired the term katte. Okay, so the social environment change has altered the meaning or the sense of the term katte, something which refer to a place around a tree in a village, or a platform which was built to check the flow of water, today represents a raised platform in the kitchen, or the slab. The kitchen slab that we use for cooking is called katte, and this is an example for change in the social environment. Okay. Then, Shvashuraha, the term, mostly implies to a father-in-law, but there are cases where it means an enemy also. Then, there are other conditions where we deliberately use a different meaning for the term, like Vinayokti, for example. Vinayokti actually means something that is told out of Vinaya as a mark of respect. Okay, so when you say Savakashena Bunjita, Savakashva Kutkundu Uta Madi is what we say in Kannada. So Savakasha, actually in the original sense, according to Ayurveda, it meant that you have to eat, you should not eat to the full capacity of the stomach. Don't fill your stomach fully. You're supposed to divide the stomach into 4 parts, fill it with food or solids only up to 2 parts. Only half the stomach should be with solids. The remaining half, 1/4 should be with water, and the remaining 1/4, the last 1/4, should be with air. So you should leave some space for the food to actually move about and churn in the stomach for proper digestion. So this is what was meant by Savakashena Bunjita. But today, as a mark of respect, you say people, Savakashva Bhuta Madi means you eat leisurely, to take your own time and eat properly. Don't be in a hurry. So this is out of, as a mark of respect. So this is Vinayokti. Okay. Then the next category is Saumyokti. Saumyokti is a polished way of saying something. Instead of hurting somebody by saying something very rude, so we try to use some words slightly, polish it and use it in a different way. You try to communicate the same thing in a more pleasing manner. Okay, so instead of saying disabled, we say differently abled. Okay, so like that. That is Saumyokti. So there, an example for this would be Mangalavaraha. Amangalasya varasya yata Mangalavaraha. Actually, it is Amangalavara. But out of Saumyokti, we call it as the Mangalavara. Then, Divangata. Okay. Divangata today is a person who is dead. In those days, looks like the rishis who had extra powers, they could actually visit the Paraloka and come back. They had this thing of going and coming back. It was not that they were dead. So when somebody asked where is the guru, then the student would say that no, he's gone, Divangata. He's gone to the Paraloka. He'll be back in some time. It's like visiting your relatives. So he's gone to the Paraloka. So he is Divangata. But that in today's sense, nobody comes back from that. So once you're gone, you're gone. So today it is used to refer to a person who is dead. Instead of saying that he's Mrita, we use the term Divangata. It's a polished way of saying. So that is Saumyokti. Okay. Then the other one is Vyangyokti. We are very familiar with the word Vyangya now. It's like the suggestive meaning. To say to call someone a Brihaspati or a Pandita Putra. Here what happens is, actually when you say Brihaspati was a very, the most intelligent of the rishis there, or the devas I think. So when you say somebody is Brihaspati, it is supposed to indicate his intelligence level. But here we actually use it in contra sense. Okay. Viruddha. In Kavya Prakasha there was this term that was used for it. It is in the sense of virodha, contrary meaning that is derived. The same example was given, Brihaspati Ayam. So there it is actually used in the exact contrary sense. Here, ironically, we are actually trying to say something. So that is Vyangyokti. So Brihaspati or a Pandita Putra, it actually indicates an idiot, but it is an indirect way of saying. Okay. The final reason may be ignorance. By mistake, some wrong words may be used. So these are all some of the reasons, karana for artha parinati. It could be out of ignorance, or it could be out of vyangyokti, where you want to really say something ironical. So sarcasm is indicated in vyangyokti. Samyokti and vinayokti could be out of respect, or just to please, to make it a little more pleasing, to not sound very harsh. So in those cases, it is vinayokti and saumyokti that has changed the words, or it could be because of the change in the social environment or the geographical environment, or it could be just the poetic liberty. The poet would have just thought that yes, he has the liberty to change certain words just to fit the chandas. So he might have done it, and these things have resulted in the change of words or artha parinama. Okay, is it clear? Okay. The next question is Varnanam Sthana Prayatna Vivekam Adhikritya Prabandham Vikatha. This has been asked very repeatedly. Basically here, the English book has a great long description about the production of speech and all that. I don't want to go into the anatomical aspects really in detail because it's not possible for you to remember. But anyway, what we need to know is how is speech produced? The production of speech sound, it actually takes place by the disturbance of the air column, which comes out of the lungs and passes through the gullet, the oral cavity, and out through the mouth, or sometimes through the nose. So what happens is, as we inhale and exhale, the lung has air. So while we exhale, the air comes out, and while it is moving out through the windpipe, at the end of the windpipe, at the top of the windpipe is the vocal cords. Okay. So these vocal cords, also called larynx anatomically, these vocal cords, they vibrate. Okay. So this vibration of the will result in the disturbance of the air column. The air which was just moving, if you keep something in, so that disturbance in the air column, it results in the sound. Okay. There are other factors which contribute to it, but remember that it is the disturbance of the air column which is coming out of the lungs. While it is coming out of the lungs, it passes through the vocal cords, then through the throat. The gullet is the throat area. Then you have the oral cavity, the mouth itself, and then it comes out through the mouth, through the lips. It comes out. Sometimes it comes out through the nose. So this is the production of speech sound. Then, what are all the factors that alter the speech sounds? There we actually have something called the organs of the speech that can be broadly divided into two categories as movable organs. Just check your lower jaw. While we speak, it is only the lower jaw that moves. The upper jaw, which is connected to the remaining part of the skeleton, is actually a fixed part. The upper jaw, the upper teeth, the roof of the mouth, these things, they never move. It is only the lower jaw which will move. So the immovable organs are all present on the top. They include the upper lip, the upper teeth, the alveolar ridge. Alveolar ridge is actually the what do you say, the gum part where the teeth is lodged. That part is the alveolar ridge. Then you have the hard palate. Hard palate. Just place your tongue on top of the on the roof of the mouth. The hard part that you feel is the hard palate. If you go slightly behind, you will feel it soft. It will become soft. That is the soft palate. And the whole dome, the entire roof of the mouth. So all these are the immovable organs. Then the movable organs are that which are down in the lower jaw, as I told you. It includes the lower lip, the lower teeth, the entire tongue. The tongue has been divided as tip, the blade of the tongue, the middle of the tongue, and the back of the tongue. By the blade, we mean the side borders. That is called the blade of the tongue. Then you have the middle of the tongue and the back of the tongue, and uvula. Uvula is when you open your mouth in front of a mirror, you can see that small thing hanging in the throat. That is the uvula. So these set of organs, they move in different ways and they result in the different speech sounds that are produced. So these are about organs of speech. We may have a short notes on organs of speech or dhvani anga. It is being asked in the previous years also. So remember, organs of speech, mainly two types: movable, immovable. Write as many names as you remember. Then.
One second. Kati sir, Kannada book, page number 42-43. Kannada ಶಬ್ದಗಳು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Kannada book number ಹೇಳಿ.
Book number 19, block 19, page number 42-43.
Yeah.
ಕಿರುನಾಲಿಗೆ, ಊಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕಿರುನಾಲಿಗೆ. Yeah, you can continue. We will refer to that later.
Yeah. So, articulation means movement. Articulation of joint is what generally we see. So, articulation refers to movement. So, as I told you, the movement of these speech organs, they result in the speech productions. So, now, there are three things that are of concern when we talk about speech production. First of all, what is the articulator, or what is the part that is moving? Okay, so the movable part, your articulator. Then the place or the point of articulation. Now, what does the movable part do? It will move and it will touch one of the immovable part. So the movable part or the immovable part. So the immovable part is called the being touched. The touch happens. Is it completely blocking? Is it completely in contact and it's blocking the flow of air? Or is there a small gap between these two? These things are all, they change. They change the quality of sound. So this is referred to under manner of articulation. So remember, articulation is the movement of the organs of speech. And this articulation has three things that you need to remember. First of all, the movable part, which is the articulator. Two, what does the movable part do? It will move and it will try to touch the immovable part. So the immovable part, that which is being touched, it is the place or the point of articulation. And three, the manner of articulation, the way this movement or touching happens, that is the manner of articulation. Based on this manner of articulation of speech, sounds are classified as vowels and consonants. Okay. So what happens is, try to say the vowels A, E, I, O, U. When you try to say each of this, you will realize that the tongue or the teeth, the upper jaw, the lower teeth, the lip, nothing obstructs the air. It is more or less, your mouth is more or less wide open and the air freely passes without any obstruction. Only if you try it, you will realize what I'm trying to say. When you say ah, or e, or oo, or o, or I, any of these, you don't see any obstruction. On the contrary, try saying ka or ta. You know that the tongue will touch the roof of the mouth. It comes in contact with the palate. So that is for consonants. But for vowels, there is no obstruction. There is no audible friction. The stream of air, it passes out without any obstruction or audible friction. Then, the change in the shape and the size of the resonance chamber. The resonance chamber here is the mouth cavity itself. Okay, the air comes out of the lung, it comes into the mouth cavity, and then it comes out through the through the lips actually, out of the lips, out of the mouth proper. So what happens once it is inside the resonance chamber? Depending on the shape and the size of the resonance chamber, the different vowel sounds are produced. So when we say ah, the size is, it's complete. It's like you fully open mouth. You open your mouth fully. The resonance chamber is fully open, maximum size, and without any obstruction, the sound ah is produced. But when we say e, you can understand that the lips have come closer, but they are wider. You're not closing the lips, but they are just closer, and it is wider. E. The shape of the lips will change. They will become more rounded, but inside it is still hollow. Your tongue is not touching the roof. The resonant chamber is still hollow, and the lips take the shape of a round shape. So there you have oo and o. O, it becomes more narrower. The shape becomes more round and more narrower. So when there is no obstruction to the stream of air that is passing out, then you have the production of vowels. Remember, vowels, no obstruction to air flow. This is the basic for vowels. Then consonants, you have all.
One second, Harini. I'll just parallelly tell the Kannada words. Can you just go back one step?
Yeah.
Yeah. Muru, the three mentioned here are Ucharada Bindu. Second one is Ucharananga. Articulator is called Ucharana Anga, and the manner of articulation is called Ucharanaya Riti. So it is in page 40, 44, 45. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. You want to explain the vowel thing also, you can do, Divya?
No, once you know, we will know it is there in the Kannada book.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Okay. Then moving on to the consonants. Here we have lot of variation, like how the manner of articulation happens. I told you it can be a complete stop, there can be a complete contact of the articulator and the point of articulation, or there can be a small gap between those two. So these things, they change the way the consonant sounds. Okay, so here manner of articulation is of 7 different types. The examples that I have given in the bracket is my example. It's just my understanding. I have tried to understand it in that particular way. It may or may not be correct. Just for your understanding, I have put it there. I felt that was the closest that I could relate to it. The first one is stops, or it is also called sparsha. Sparsha, manner of articulation. Here what happens? The movement of air is stopped and then suddenly released. When try to say ta, when we say ta, the air that has come out of lung, it is stopped at the level of the palate. The tongue and the palate, they come in contact, and the air is actually stopped for that one fraction of a second, and then ta, it is suddenly released. So that is an example for sparsha, or this is called stops. Okay. Then the second category is affricates or anubharsha. Here again, the movement of air is stopped, but the release is very gradual. It is not suddenly released like in stops. So it is gradual. So here I thought ta is more apt here, because when you say ta, the beginning ta, there is a stop. You are stopping the air. But when you're releasing it, the release is not very sudden like in ta. But here it is slightly slow. So this is a fricates or anubharsha. Then the third category is fricatives or bharsha, where the articulator, it does not touch the point of articulation, but it goes very near it. Okay, So there is a small gap between the articulator and the point of articulation. Okay. So here it goes very near, and through the small gap the air passes out with great friction. So when we are trying to say r, the tip of the tongue will not touch that particular place near the alveolar ridge. Try saying r, you will understand. When you say r, there is a small gap there and the air is released with lot of friction. So that is gharsha. Okay, fricatives or gharsha, there is lot of friction. Anunasika, we are very familiar with the term, we know what it is. It is similar to stop, but air passes through the nasal cavity also. Nyamangananam. So we are familiar with the Anunasika part of it, or nasals. Then laterals or parshvika. Here what he says is the midline is closed and the air passes through the sides, through the blade of the tongue. I was not able to come up with any particular vyanjana for this. I don't know. I don't know any example for this. But remember that lateral means to the side. The word lateral means to the side. So parshvika means the midline is closed. The blade of the tongue, the middle of the tongue, it will completely go stick to the roof or the dome of the mouth. So thereby you have the air that is being released only through the sides. So this is laterals. Then thrills or tadita. This is similar to fricatives where you had a lot of friction, but the articulator itself vibrates with the movement of air. So there in fricatives, it is only the air which comes through with a lot of friction, but here the articulator itself, the organ itself will vibrate. So I thought if you are trying to say drum, when you say that particular sound, the movement or the vibration of the tip of the tongue. So I thought that could be an example for tadita or trills. Then anutadita or flap. It is a fast single sweeping movement of the articulator. When you say up, the lips, they immediately go in one fast single movement and they close. Okay, so the articulator is actually moving in one fast movement. So this is flap. When you say flap, also it is the same thing. The lips moving and closing against each other. So up or flap can be an example for the flap variety of manner of articulation, which is also called anutadita. Is it okay? Have you been able to understand anything? Just remember these names, because if you are answering this question as a main essay, you may have to mention these points, but otherwise there is nothing much that you can write about it. If it is for a if there is a choice, please ignore, but these are the points that you need to remember in this particular answer. Manner of articulation, 7 types. Manner of articulation, it comes to play only in case of consonants. In case of vowels or swaras, it is the free flow of air. There is an unobstructed flow of air through the resonance chamber, which is the mouth itself. It is only the size and the shape of the resonance chamber or the mouth which alters the sound of vowels. So you have R, E, A, I, O and all that. But in case of consonants, you have the manner of articulation which are 7 in type, which are 7 types. They could be sparsha or stops, where the movement of air is stopped and suddenly released. Affricates, again the movement is stopped but the release is gradual. Fricatives, remember fricative, friction, they go hand in hand. The articulator, it does not touch the point of articulation completely. There is a small gap, and through this gap the air passes out with great friction. Then nasals, anunasika, we are familiar with this, nyamangadanam. The air, apart from passing out through the mouth, it also passes through the nasal cavity. Then laterals or parshvika, the midline, the middle of the tongue, it completely covers it. It goes and sticks to the roof of the mouth. So the air is released only through the blade or the side of the tongue. This is called lateral or parshvika. In case of trills or tadita, they are similar to fricatives, except that here, apart from the air being released with friction, there is the vibratory movement of the articulator itself. The articulator, the tip of the tongue itself will move when you try to say drum. So this can be trills or tadita. Then anutadita or flap, it's fast single sweeping movement of the articulator. So when you try to say up, the lips, they close. They move in one fast movement and they close against each other. So this is flap. So these are the 7 modes of manner of articulation, because of which you have different vyanjana or consonants that are derived.
Okay.
Then
Page number 60. Excuse me, Harini.
yeah, sure.
Page number 62, 63 onwards in Kannada book. The subcategory is Dhvani Vijnana Vyanjanagala Uchcharane. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So here in
So Harini, Soumya's that lecture is also there. One on the phonetics part. The short lectures that I have uploaded, there is one specifically on this.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So consonants are of 2 categories. They are either voiced or voiceless. Okay. Ghoshita and aghosha. Now, if the vocal cords vibrate, then it is voiced. If the vocal cords are wide open and the air passes through it, then it becomes voiceless. When you whisper, okay, when you're trying to whisper, it is actually called a voiceless or a ghosha vyanjana that is produced. But when we normally speak, the vocal cords also vibrate along with the movement of air. So then it becomes a ghoshita or a voiced consonant. Then there is another category called aspirated consonant or Mahaprana. Okay. So in Mahaprana, what happens is an extra puff of air is added to the release. You know what the Mahapranas are. When you say kha and ka and kha. So when you say kha, the Mahaprana, you can realize that there is a little more air that is added to it. So that is typically why it is called Mahaprana, extra air. So that is an aspirated consonant. Kha, gha, cha, jha, and so on. Okay. Then here I just took this bit from Siddhanta Kaumudi. When in Sanskrit, how they have been able to derive the swara and the vyanjana. What is the this one? The point of origin of these sounds has been explained. So akuha visarjaniyanam kantaha. So the swara and ku kaka ghaga, the ku varga ka varga, aha and visarjaniya, these all are derived from the kantha. Then e chu ya shana, e cha cha ja ja, ya and sha are from the talu. Talu is the palate. Okay. Then r t rashhana murdha, r tata dadha, ra and sha, shanmukha sha, sha are from the murdha. Then r t lasana, r tat tata dadha and la and sa, these are from the danta. Upu padmaniyana, u and papa baba. I don't know what is upadmaniya. I really don't know what upadmaniya is. But remember,
See my screen. Harini, see my screen. You will find Upadmaniya.
Sorry.
See the Hangout screen.
Okay, Upadmaniya is again, she says it's pa again.
No, the Visarga before pa, with that when we join,
Okay.
we pronounce it little differently, no?
Visarga Sandhi, the fa sound comes, no? I think it's that.
Okay, okay. So Upadmaniya, where pa comes following a Visarga. Okay, so that is
So this is that Soumya madam slide. So these have been explained there, yeah.
Please go through that short video of I think over 5 minutes or so. So you'll understand this part better than that. Yeah. Anyway, Upu Padmaniyanam is from Oshta or the lips. Nyamagananam Nasika cha. It is along with the Nasika. It's not just the nose. It's along with the Nasika. Edai Toho. Eighth and Ith are from the Kanta Talu. O and out are from the Kanta Oshta, and va is from Danta and Oshta. So this part has been explained by Soumya madam. So please go through that short video for better understanding of this. Then Dhvani Vijnanam Adhikritya Prabandham. Dhvani Vijnana is phonetics. Okay, so you have to write an essay on phonetics. We will have to write a little bit about the organs of speech and the physics of sound, how the sounds are produced. I told you the movement of air. So what happens in swara, what happens in vyanjana, the different types of articulation, the manner of articulation. These basic intro, which we have already discussed, you need to write all that. Along with that, you will have to write whatever follows here. So phonetics or Dhvani Vijnana is actually studied under 3 different heads. I have made a very brief thing of this because I didn't want to really elaborate this. It's again very confusing. It's the same thing that is being mentioned over and over. But just remember that phonetics or the study of sound, it has been studied under 3 different heads. The first part is articulatory phonetics or Uchcharanatmaka Dhvani Vijnana. Okay. Here we are only concerned with the production of speech sounds in the oral cavity of the speaker. What we discussed above, how the speech is produced, what happens, what is the changes, the manner of articulation, all these parts, they come under articulatory phonetics, Uchcharanatmaka Dhvani Vijnana. Then, sound does not end only with production. Unless someone hears it, it makes no sense. So, the second part of phonetics is the auditory phonetics or the perception of the listener, how the person is able to receive it. So, first we talk about the throat and the mouth and all these things that happens at this level. Then you talk about the ear. So, how the sound is received, how it is conveyed, how it transforms to the brain, how it comes back, how the message is released, all these things. The Shravanatmaka, the auditory part of it, the listening part of it is covered under auditory phonetics. And thirdly, acoustic phonetics. Acoustic is the science of sound, the study of sound. So acoustic phonetics is the physical property of the sound. So the sound wave, because sound travels in waves, it has a particular frequency. So what is the frequency, what is the pitch, or what is the formants, the loudness, etc. The timbre, the tone. There are various terms that are used to explain the physics of sound waves. So all these parts, the physical properties of it, are all discussed under the acoustic phonetics or Tarangatmaka Dhvani Vijnana. So remember, phonetics is of 3 branches: Uchcharanatmaka Dhvani Vijnana, articulatory phonetics; Shravanatmaka Dhvani Vijnana, auditory phonetics; and Tarangatmaka Dhvani Vijnana, which is acoustic phonetics. Our book does not give any more explanation on this. Only the articulatory phonetics has been explained as above. So we have seen the details there. Shravanatmaka and Tarangatmaka, they have not been described. So
in Kannada book, there is some mention of it in second book, page 8, 9, 11, 10, 11, around there.
Okay. Okay. Now, the next part is Bhashotpatti Vadhan. How language came about, how language started. Like we know that animals don't communicate; they don't have a language system. So, when humans evolved, how the language also evolved. So, this is another question. I just need 2 minutes gap. Please bear with me. Just give me a 2-minute break. I'll just join you shortly. Sorry about that. Yeah, so Bhashotpatti Vada. Now, language has been defined as an arbitrary system of vocal symbols which is used by human beings who are members of a social group and participants in culture to interact and communicate. Okay, so remember these parts which are highlighted. Language is an arbitrary system of vocal sounds. It's an arbitrary usage. So the words, nobody has a fixed meaning for it. It is an arbitrary sound which has been given the meaning, arthamiti, whatever the arbitrary meaning by convention that has been attached to the word and the meaning. So it is an arbitrary symbol of vocal system of vocal symbols. It has been used by human beings to interact and communicate. So that is the definition of language. Language consists of orally produced meaningful words and sentences. So you just can't have a couple of sounds here and there. So language has to have meaningful words and sentences which are derived from the words. Then, okay. Words are not definitely inborn, okay, but the capacity to acquire a language and use it creatively seems to be inborn. A child, when it is born, has to definitely learn the language, even the mother tongue. So it listens, it hears to the parents or people around speaking that language, and soon it picks up. So the capacity to learn a language, to acquire a new language, is inborn in us, but the word or the language itself is not inborn. We learn the language. You can learn as many languages possible, but that basic language has to be learned, and it is not inborn. So this is the basic thing. Then this ability to acquire a new language was called language acquisition device by Noam Chomsky. His name is there somewhere in our material, so I included that sentence here. So Noam Chomsky, he calls it the ability. He calls this ability as the language acquisition device, or LAD. Now, so here at this juncture, we begin to wonder how this language instinct in humans originated. How did it come through? What made the first person talk? What was the compulsion, and how did he realize that he can talk? He can move his vocal cords and actually make this sound. So how did this come up? The first set of theories none of these theories have been proved. First of all, these are all just hypotheses or beliefs. Okay. So first thing is belief in divine creation. Okay. So what people thought was, many societies throughout the history, they thought that the speech itself was the gift of gods. The gods gave it exclusively only to humans. They did not give it to the animals, but it was a gift to the human beings. There is a reference for it in the Bible also. In Genesis 2:20, it says that Adam gave names to all the living creatures. So God gave Adam that power, and Adam gave the names to all living creatures. Then, from our perspective, from Sanskrit, we can mention about the Shabda and the Ishvara Sanketa. Idam Shabda says, yeah.
You can copy paste that also. I have put it in the chat. Asmat Shabdat ayam artho bodhavya iti Ishvara ichcha sanketah. That's okay. Proceed, Hari.
Yeah, I'm just copying. Okay. So,
where is this quote from, Nivedita?
I think Kavya Prakasha.
Okay, okay.
Our Shivakumar sir mentioned it in Kavya Prakasha class.
This is from Tarka. This is from the last year's, we studied it in Tarka. So the sentence comes there. Asmat Shabdat ayam artha bodhavya iti Ishvara Ichcha, and this Ishvara Ichcha is called the Sanketa. So this is our way of understanding it. So we also attribute it to the divine creation. Then, okay. So here also there is that belief which says that the capacity to learn the language was innately present in the humans, and the first language was given by God. It was God's gift. Now, we don't know how old the language is, because there are no primitive languages, known primitive languages, we don't know, because we know that man evolved from the ape. So during the process of evolution, during the Neanderthal man and the other stages of the development of the Homo sapiens himself, in that period, was there an intermediate language or a primitive language that was used in that Neanderthal age is something that we really don't know. Okay, and it is impossible to prove that the first anatomically modern humans possessed creative language. Whether the human beings, as soon as the Homo sapiens development happened, did they already have a language by then? Was it the work of the Neanderthal man which resulted in language for the Homo sapien, or the Homo sapien having developed, he started the language development? So we don't know. We have no clue about these things. No proof. No indication whatsoever about these things. Anyway, the first theory is belief in divine creation. So it is believed that God gave language only to human beings. Then the next theory is natural evolution hypothesis. So here it is believed that, see, we know about the evolution, Darwin's theory. So as animals evolved from lower forms to higher forms, a sophisticated brain also evolved. So that is what differentiates us from the animals. So this sophisticated brain, the development of the sophisticated brain made it possible for us to invent language, and it also made learning possible. So that is what differentiated us from the animals. So the natural evolution played a role in language acquisition device. So this is the second hypothesis, which talks about natural evolution. Just like we learned how to invent fire, how to make a wheel, how to keep ourselves clothes, how to do farming, how to cook. These things are all something which the animals never did. So we did it out of trial and error. So this is something that was possible only by the natural evolution and the sophistication of the brain. So similar sophisticated brain capacity made it possible for us to acquire the language also. So this is the natural evolution hypothesis. Then this is one set of hypotheses. The first and the second, the belief in divine creation and natural evolution, is one set. The other hypothesis, what they say is, these are all called invention hypothesis. Okay, so what they said was, whether it is divine gift or by evolution, what happens is how the language really expanded. See, God would not have given all the set of words. So there has to be a way to expand the language. He would have said, okay, he might have given us the capacity to talk, and he would have just, like at a very primitive level, it might have been a divine gift. But how did the language itself expand? So for that, there are 4 imitation hypotheses or theories which believe in imitation. Okay, the first one under that is ding dong hypothesis. Okay, what they said was, the sounds that occur in nature, these were actually they were like those sounds itself were tried to, they made that itself as the word. For example, when you hear an explosion, the sound that you hear is something like boom. So they said, okay, let's have this word boom for explosion. Is it clear? Similarly, for crash, when they heard thunder, somebody felt that it sounded like something like crash. So then they said, okay, let's have the word crash for thunder. So this is called ding dong hypothesis. Okay, it holds that the first human words were a type of verbal icon, a sign whose form is an exact image of its meaning. So when you say boom, what comes into your mind is the explosion. So that explosion, the sound which came during the explosion, that itself became the word for that explosion. So boom was the word for explosion. This is ding dong hypothesis. Okay. The problem with this was, this is called onomatopoeia. That is the imitation of sound. That's called onomatopoeia. Forget the jargon. It is limited to a very small part of the vocabulary, because when you see a tree, the tree is not making any sound. So how do you come up with the word tree for a tree? So this became the problem. They were not able to explain these set of words which did not have any sound of its own. So they felt that the ding dong hypothesis cannot be accepted because it is too small a category of words which fall under this hypothesis. So they said we cannot accept the ding dong hypothesis. Then the next one is poo poo hypothesis. This is again very similar. Here what they told was it was the involuntary exclamations like dislike or hunger or pain or pleasure. These things. For example, when there is a sudden pain, you say ouch. That's your ow, amma, whatever that whatever you scream, that initial reaction that you give. So that was the word attached to that particular emotion, was what they said. So this is called poo-poo hypothesis, where involuntary exclamations themselves became the word. Okay, but this again similar problem like the ding dong hypothesis. This is limited to a very small part of the language. You cannot explain every word based on this. Then another thing that they found was in each of the language this expression will change. In English you may say ouch, but in Kannada or Tamil you might only say amma when you're hurt. So these words are also, they changed according to language. They were not universally same. So then they felt that maybe this theory is not acceptable. The emotional explanations, since they are very limited, you cannot have that as a hypothesis to prove the origin of words. So they discarded this particular theory. Bow wow hypothesis. This has been asked in the paper for short notes. Anukarana Siddhanta. Okay, this is one of the most famous theories to explain the origin of language. Here what they said was bow wow. When you hear bow wow, you can only think of a dog. So here the imitation of animal noises where the was the point of origin of sounds is what the theory says. Like for example, they said moo, where the word moo was derived from the sound of a cow. You have bark, you have hiss, meow, quack, quack. So all these words, they were derived as imitations of the animal noises. Okay. Then here again the problem was the linguistic rendition of animal sounds, they differ considerably from language to language. See, a dog is going to bark the same way irrespective of where it is, in which part of the earth. But in English, a dog is known to say bow wow. But in China, they say it is woo woo. In Japan, they say it is van van. So then they felt that you cannot say this. This theory does not hold any water because this basic change is there. For example, cat, we say meow. This in Russia it is meow. In China, in Chinese it is mao. Nya nya in Japanese. So these things, they keep changing according to the language. Although the animal makes the same sound, the receiving or the understanding based on that particular language seems to be different. So this cannot be universally accepted. Although the animal sounds are same, the understanding changes, and therefore this hypothesis was ridiculed. The Anukarana Siddhanta or the bow wow hypothesis was also not accepted. Okay, so this is about Anukarana Siddhanta. Then the last of the hypothesis was given by Charles Darwin himself, but he himself was not convinced about it. He was a little skeptical about the theory himself. What he said was, the speech might have developed as a sort of a mouth pantomime. That is, the hand gestures that you do, the movement of hand, when you say some person to not go, you say stop, or you say come, or you say bye. So whatever the hand movement you do, so the sounds were, the mouth sounds were actually an imitation of the movement of the hand. This is what he said, but it is not a very convincing theory. So just remember, the imitation hypotheses are mainly 4. The first one is the ding dong hypothesis. Any naturally occurring event, the sounds that were associated with it was the same word that was associated. So imitation of the sound, verbal icon. But this is not accepted because it is very limited in scope. Poo-poo hypothesis, it is the involuntary exclamations that we have for dislike or hunger, pain, pleasure, etc. Again here, the emotional exclamations are very limited, so even this was not accepted. Bow wow hypothesis or Anukarana Siddhanta, bow wow, remember dog, it's the imitation of Animal sounds, again, although the animal makes the same sound across all around the earth, but the words that are being given for the animal sounds are different in different languages. So this particular theory was rejected. And the last one is Tata hypothesis, given by Charles Darwin. He said the hand movements of the gestures, they were they were given some speech sounds. The imitation of the hand movements, they developed as speech sounds, but even that was not very convincing. So none of these theory have been able to explain it successfully. There are a few more set of hypotheses. I will just list all this. It's up to you whether to remember to learn or just ignore and delete. The next one is warning hypothesis. They said when it became necessary for us to use a language. Why the use of language came, first of all. See, we found out how the language came was explained there. Why the language came? What was the need for man to invent a language? So here, under this, you have a couple of hypotheses. The first one is warning hypothesis. They said that it was used as an index during everyday activities and situation. See, in those days, they would have gone out for hunting. They used to live in forest, in caves, etc. So if there was a danger, if from an animal or something, so this was used as a signal to warn the other members of the tribe. So then they came up with something, some indication to tell them that I'm warning you, you better take care of yourself. So that is when the language started. It started as a warning to others, such as look out, run, help, alert the members of tribe when some beast was approaching. So it was an index for everyday activity and situation. So this is warning hypothesis. As a warning, the language must have started. Then there is another hypothesis called the Yogi-Ho hypothesis. Here, generally even today we find when people were rowing boat or lifting big logs, they all sing together. They have a rhythmic thing which they sing. So this is what happened, the rhythmic chanting to stimulate a collective effort, whether it was for moving great stones to block the entrance of the cave, or from roving carnivores, or repeating warlike phrases to inflame the fighting spirit. So in all these cases, it became as a collective effort to stimulate that, to bring about a collective effort to maintain a rhythm. Especially for rowing, you need a particular rhythm. So based on that rhythm, in order to maintain the rhythm, people started saying something, chanting to maintain that rhythm. So this was explained under Yogi-Ho hypothesis. Okay. Then Plato, he believed that language developed out of sheer practical necessity. So as I said, whether it is the warning hypothesis or the Yogi-Ho hypothesis, it was practical necessity which forced man to come up with a language or a few set of words, which was later developed, and it sort of widened. The vocabulary itself widened. Then the more colorful or a jovial hypothesis is the lying hypothesis. They said that when somebody had to tell a lie, they came up with a word for it. Because real emotions, real intentions, you can actually show it on the face. But when you have to lie, you have to make an effort for it. So they said that they came up with the language or word only to lie. He proposed the need to deceive and lie, to use the language in contrast to reality for selfish ends, was the social prompting that got the language started. So language first started only for lying, is the lying hypothesis. So these are the various hypotheses of Bhasha Utpatti. Okay, that is about it.
Harini, did you find this in the KSOU material?
No, not at all.
Okay, because even in Kannada I can't find, that's why.
No, not at all there. It is not at all there. Even the Anukarana Siddhanta is not there in our books. But the question was asked, so I went and referred the net.
Okay.
These are all from you.
Harini, that Upadmani, the example for that Visarga before Pa is Antahpura.
Okay. Upadmaniya, yeah. Antahpura, yeah. Okay, so this is
That is the
about
only place the sound f comes in Sanskrit. Visarga with the pa. Visarga happens with the pa. Otherwise, it is phalam, not phalam.
yeah. Okay, so this is about Bhasha Utpatti. Moving on. This question is very, very, very important. It's been asked every year. So please make an effort to remember a few points with this question. We will definitely be able to score marks. Bharopiyam or Bhasha Parivaram or Bhashanam Vamshadharita Vargikaranam. Indo-European language family or genealogical classification of language families. Okay, Indo-European, you will find this word very often. So that has been explained here. Okay, so what happens is when linguists they started analyzing the languages across the globe, they found that there were quite a few similarities between the language. Okay, so for example, Halu in Kannada is Palu in Tamil. Then you have Huvu, Kuvu. So what they felt was there is some kind of a relation between these languages. Most likely, they must have had a common origin. So it was presumed that you can group a certain set of languages together, and you can safely presume that they have had a common source of origin. Then the language might have changed in its own course and way, but originally they had a common mother or a common source of origin. So what they did across the globes, they have analyzed the languages. They have seen which languages were similar, in what respects they were similar, how frequently the similarity was seen. Based on all these things, they have come up with 7 principal language families. This is the genealogical classification of language families. So they have grouped all the languages on earth into 7 groups. Okay, each of these 7 groups had a common origin. That is the theory here. Then, what are these 7 principal language families? These are firstly Indo-European, Afro-Asiatic, Sino-Tibetan, Altaic, Dravidian, Austro-Asiatic, and Finno-Ugric. Okay, if you want to remember this, start from India. So with respect to India, you have Indo-European first of all. Then South India, you have Dravidian. Okay, closer to India, you have China. So Sino-Tibetan, that is the third one. So Indo-European, Dravidian, Sino-Tibetan. Okay. Now we are still in Asia, so we'll finish the other 2 with Asia. Austro-Asiatic, Australia and Asia. Austro-Asiatic, that is the 4th. Afro-Asiatic, Africa and Asia. So Afro-Asiatic, 5. The remaining 2 are Altaic and Finno-Ugric. So Indo-European, Dravidian, Sino-Tibetan, Austro-Asiatic, Afro-Asiatic, Altaic, and Finno-Ugric. These are the 7 principal language families that the linguists have made for 7 different categories of language families of all the languages in the world. Then, moving on to Indo-European family. What are the languages that come under this?
1 second, Harini.
Yeah.
Kati sir, book 3, that is block 21, page number 38. Yeah, you can continue, Harini.
Yeah. So, Indo-European family of languages, it has a wide span which covers the complete of Europe and many parts of South Asia. Okay, so that which extends from Europe to Southwest, Central, and South Asia. All this entire area in between, which covers Russia, your Uzbekistan, all the stans there, the Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, China, the Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, all these areas. So this entire thing in the map, if you go look at a world map, so this middle portion comes into the category of Indo-European. Okay, then the speciality of this particular language family is it is the largest family. It has the largest number of speakers, mainly because the vast area has been covered under it. So you have largest number of speakers compared to all other language family, and it has the widest distribution. You see, half the earth has been covered in this particular category. So Indo-European. Then these languages, they are all similar to each other in linguistic structure. Therefore, their phonological, morphological, syntactical, and semantic equations are possible. Phonological, to do with the sound, speech sounds. Morphological, about the words. Syntactical, about the sentences that are used in the language. Semantic equations refer to the grammar part, I think. So these things, they can be compared, because there are similarity between the languages that are used in this entire belt from Europe to South Asia. The languages that are there, they seem to have a commonality in them. So this can be studied under the phonological, morphological, syntactical, and semantic heads. So these languages were grouped together. Okay. Then what we have seen is, what they have understood is, the linguists, they feel that they all have a common origin. They've all been derived from one language, one common language of origin, and over a course of time, they have followed definite laws, okay, by which the changes and developments of the individual language occurred. See, today, if we listen to Italic or French or some other language, we may really not be able to identify many similarities with our Indian languages. But when you sit and analyze, you will see that there are many words which are very similar in both the languages. So this, they thought, was because of the common origin, and they have gone back from that point. So as they started analyzing and going back in the history, they realized that these words are the changed forms. What we hear today is a very altered version of what was there initially. And initially, it was very similar. These two languages had similar, they had the same origin, they had the same mother, so the language was the same. And when they split into two different branches, a set of rules definitely operated, and based on the set of rules, the changes have happened. It was not like suddenly out of just arbitrary changes did not happen. They said that a set of rules governed the change, and so the languages have changed and developed on their own today. Okay. Then yeah. So this comparison, actually, they compared these languages with Sanskrit, which is the oldest language in India. So this comparison, only based on this comparison, they were able to come up with this theory that Indo-European language family, they're all connected and there was a definite relation. Now, this common origin of European languages and Sanskrit, the theory was proposed by Sir William Jones. Then, as I told you, the common mother, the common language, the common origin of language, it was called the Proto-Indo-European. This is the term given by the linguist. Okay, so they called it the Proto-Indo-European. So from this Proto-Indo-European, which is the common origin language for all the Indo-European languages, from this language, we have had the development of all the other Indo-European languages that are existing today. Okay, then it was believed that this Proto-Indo-European language, the common origin language, was spoken somewhere before the 3000 BC. Again, there are no theories to confirm it. It is just a theory. There are no proofs to confirm this particular thing. Then, Indo-European languages, they are classified into 11 major groups. 11 according to the internet, 10 according to our material. I'll tell you where the difference is. Okay, either 10 or 11. Anyway, they have been classified again into major groups. Okay, of these 10 or 11 groups, 2 are totally extinct. Nobody uses those languages anymore, and Indo-European languages family, they have a total of 449 languages. Okay, so Indo-European language, 10 groups, 449 languages. What are the groups and what are the language each of these group comprises? I have made a list here. But the first category of the 10 or 11, the first category is Baltic. Baltic consists of Latvian and Lithuanian. I don't want to go into the details because you just need to remember the names. There is nothing that I need to explain here. So the first category is Baltic. The second is Celtic. Celtic comprises of Breton, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. Remember, this first column, it represents the language. The second column is the country where it is spoken even today. Okay, the first is the language, the second is the country. Across the tables, this is the same rule that I followed. So first category is Baltic, second is Celtic, third is Germanic. Germanic is of importance to us because English comes under the Germanic category of Indo-European languages. Germanic was again divided into West Germanic and North Germanic. Under West Germanic, you have Afrikaans, Dutch, English, German, and Yiddish. North Germanic, again, there are other languages like Danish, Icelandic, Norwegian, and Swedish. Then you have Romanic. This is also called Italic. Catalan, French, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, and Spanish. Then the next category is Slavic. Slavic is a big family, a big subfamily, and it has 3 groups under it: West Slavic, East Slavic, and South Slavic. Remember Czechoslovakia, so Czech, Polish, Slovak, Slovenian, Serbian.
Hello, I can't hear you, Harini.
All these Russian, anything, any country you can remember in that story, no? Now you can hear?
Yeah, yeah.
The last time when you said Czechoslovakia.
Sorry?
There was some gap before this.
Okay, you want me to go back and repeat?
Yeah, a little bit, yes. Thank you.
So the Indo-European languages, they are classified into...
From Czechoslovakian.
Nivedita, I'm not able to understand. What did you say?
Come little down. Czechoslovakia.
Okay, so you heard about Baltic and Celtic. Okay, so Baltic, Celtic, and Germanic. Germanic is of 2 types: West Germanic and North Germanic. Romanic contains Italian. Okay, it's also called Italic group. Slavic is a big subfamily. It has been divided into 3: West Slavic, East Slavic, and South Slavic. It is more mainly around the Russian region. So it has Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian, Czech, Slovak, Slovenian, Serbian, etc. Then coming to the Indian part of it. So this is where the difference I found between the course material and the internet. Why the 10 and 11, the difference was there. According to our course material, Indo-Iranian is one group which has been again divided into Indo-Aryan and Iranian. Okay, so because of that they have 10, but the internet says Indo-Aryan is a separate group and Iranian is a separate group. So that is why it is 10 or 11. So it doesn't matter what it is. You just need to remember. So under Indo-Aryan, you have all these Indian languages: Balochi, Bengali, Bhojpuri, Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi, Maithili, Kashmiri, Nepali, Oriya, Punjabi. Romani is also a part of it. It is now currently used in Romania, but that has been included under Indo-Aryan. Sanskrit, Sindhi, Sinhalese, and Urdu. So these languages, they come under Indo-Aryan. Remember, no Dravidian language comes under this. Okay, Dravidian language is separate. They don't come under the Indo-European at all. They don't belong to the Indo-European category at all. The Dravidian language is a separate family on its own. They have a different origin. They don't originate from Sanskrit. So this is the Indo-Aryan category of languages which is prevalent in the subcontinent. Then Iranian. Iranian language, they basically have Avesta is one of the famous language there, which is from Zendavesta. I told you this is the holy Zendavesta is the holy book of Zoroastrianism. So that is the holy language of Zoroastrianism. So that is one of the language, one of the important group here under the Iranian category. The other languages are Dhari, Farsi. Farsi is the other name for Persian, Kurdish, Pashto, and Tajik. So these languages come under the Iranian category of Indo-European language. Then, apart from this, you have Albanian, Armenian, then Greek. It belongs to the Hellenic group, which amongst the group only Greek is the only surviving member. All the other languages have become extinct. Then the other two things which are extinct are Tocharian and Anatolian. So these two languages have become, the language group itself has become extinct. Tocharian was last used somewhere in the 1000 AD. Anatolian was used lastly only around 7th century BC. Now both these groups have become extinct. So this is about Indo-European language family. So Indo-European language family, of the 7 groups of language families on the earth, Indo-European language family is the largest group. It has, because geographically it extends a very vast area, it covers a very vast area coming from Europe on the west side, almost from the Iceland, Norway, Greenland, from that end of Europe, the northwestern end of Europe, from there to your China, I mean the subcontinent here basically, India, Sri Lanka, so this end. So all that, the entire area in between, which covers Germany, France, Italy, Russia, Belarus, Uzbekistan, everything. All the entire region there, the Asian belt completely, including the Middle East, everything comes under this particular category. So they always believe to have a common origin. This theory was found out because they compared the resemblance with Sanskrit. This theory was proposed by Sir William Jones, and they called the common ancestor as Proto-Indo-European, PIE. And then they have grouped the Indo-European languages into 10 or 11 categories. There are a total of 449 languages. The groups under the Indo-European languages family are Baltic, Celtic, Germanic, Romanic, Slavic, Indo-Aryan, Iranian, Albanian, Armenian, Greek, Tocharian, and Anatolian. Okay, so this is about Indo-European language family. Is it clear?
Yes.
Now, another favorite question seems to be Dvani Niyaman. Dvani Niyaman Sodaharanam Varnayata, again asked repeatedly. So, we saw that the languages, they all have a common origin or a same ancestor. So, what happened and how did the language change to acquire the current form? So, this was discussed by the linguists, and through the course of discussion, they have come out with their own laws. Okay, so that is what is covered under Dvani Niyama. See, remember that Dvani is not only sound, it refers to the pronunciation. So why does the pronunciation change from one language to another? Why does per become fur, ver becomes ver becomes ber? These changes, why these changes happen? So these things were studied by linguistics, and these and they came up with their own set of theories, and these are called the laws of linguistics or Dvani Niyama. One of the famous linguists who has proposed this theory is Jacob Grimm. He lived in the and his theory is called the Grimm's law. Okay, so he talks about the historical sound change that links the Proto-Indo-European. Remember, Proto-Indo-European is the ancestral language for the Indo-European family. So, from the Proto-Indo-European, how did the Germanic languages develop? So, what he spoke only about the Germanic languages. I told you to remember Germanic language is very important because it includes Afrikaans, Dutch, English, Germany, and Yiddish. Okay, so since English and Germany come under that, he has been working on these two particular language. So he compared English and Germany, the current day Germany and German and English, to the Proto-Indo-European language, and he came up with his theory known as Grimm's law. This is also called as first Germanic sound shift. Okay, then the to understand Grimm's law better, you need to know that the first level of change, the two levels of changes are believed to have occurred. Okay, the first level of change was believed to have occurred somewhere in the prehistoric period, of which we don't have any record. But the second level of change, which Jacob Grimm has really worked on, was believed to have occurred somewhere in the 7th century. Okay, and this change, he says, was probably because of the Jews, the Yahudis, and the Christian influence. So because of their influence, the language changed, is what he has told. Now, there are 3 set of shifts that occur according to Grimm. Okay, remember, if something is A will become B. Something that was B initially will become C. Something that was C initially will become D. This is the theory that he said. So A becoming B is one set. Something that was already B, originally B, will become C. Originally C will become D. So you have 3 sets of shifts that occur according to Grimm. What he said was, the first set is the voiced aspirated stops. Now you know what is voiced, you know what is aspirated, and you know what is stops. Voiced, where the vocal cords also vibrate when the sound is produced. It is not a whisper, it is a normal speech, so that is voiced. Aspirated, mahaprana, you know that extra puff of air is released. And stops, it comes under consonants. You know that the movement of air is obstructed and there is a sudden release. So voice, aspirated, stops. This is ghoshita mahaprana. You know voiced means ghoshita, aspirated is mahaprana. So ghoshita mahaprana. Under this you have bha, dha, and gha. So when you say bha, dha, gha, you can make out that it is voiced, it is aspirated, and it falls under the category of stops. So in the first level, whatever came under these 3, that is all the words which had bha there, it got converted into your alpa prana ba. So the voiced aspirated stops got converted into voiced stops. They lost the aspiration. So ghoshita mahaprana became ghoshita alpa prana. Okay, this is the first thing. So bha became ba, dha became the, gha became ga. Okay, now the next change was the ghoshita alpa prana. Now that which was initially only an alpa prana, mahaprana ididdu alpa prana aitu, but alpa prana ididdu enaitu, this became voiceless stops or aghosha. Okay, so voiced stops became voiceless stops or aghosha alpa prana. Ba became pa, da became ta, and ga became ka. Okay, then this voiceless stops or aghosha alpa prana, they became aghosha mahaprana, again voiceless fricative cycle, next level. So pa became tha, tha became tha, and ka became kha. This is Grimm's law. Okay, so first you have bha, dha, gha. You can remember it very logically. There is no confusion at all. Remember, it always starts with bha, dha, gha. If you remember the first 3, you will be able to write the other 3 sets. No confusion at all. Bha can only become ba. Mahaprana ididdu alpa prana matra agutte. Ade idraliro alpa prana matra agutte. Ba cannot become anything else. So bha will become ba, dha will become da, gha will become ga. Ade ba, da, ga alpa pranavagi iddiddu, adu remember the same varga in that line, the first letter, the aghosha alpa prana in that particular line. So ba anta tagondre adralli pa, pa, ba, bha alva. So adralli first letter yadu pa. So ba will become pa, da will become ta, ga will become ka. Okay, now ivaga pa, ta, ka irodu alpa prana iddiddu enagutte, mahaprana agutte. Mahaprana iddhidu Alpaprana agutte. Alpaprana iddhidu konege Mahaprana agutte. Okay. So pa will become tha, ta will become tha, and ka will become kha. This is Grimm's law. This is the theory that he proposed. In examples, he said bratra, brata. If you take brata, the bha here, it should become ba. So it became brother. This is German or Gothic term. Okay. So this bha shifted to ba. Example for that is brata becoming brother. Then the becoming the. Dve, adraliro the in dve became two. I think this two was initially two or something. It must have been two. Right now in English we are saying two, but it would not have shifted to ta. That is my understanding. It should have been the, twa, two, something like two. That should have been the word there, because you still have the ver sound that is retained. So V and W are the ver sounds. So the was changed to the, two. Okay. Pa, you know, Alpaprana will become Mahaprana. So Pita, the pa there became fa, father. Okay. Then this change can occur anywhere, not only the first or the beginning letter, it can occur in the middle also. So father, you have pa as well as the, which can change. So pa became fa, fo, the became the, fo tu was the change that happened in according to Grimm's law. This is the theory that he said. Okay. So bha dha gha becoming ba da ga, ba da ga becoming pa ta ka becoming fa, tha, and kha. This is the theory according to Grimm. Remember, in every case, the location remains close or same. Illi now in bratha, if it's the first thing that you're changing, here again it has to be the first. Illi bratha nalli bra change madbiಟ್ಟು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ತ ನ ಥ ಮಾಡಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. So you cannot change the first and the second, interchange ಮಾಡಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. It has to be the same letter, the same position, the same letter will change. Okay. So this is what he said. There are a few exceptions. Like obviously Grimm's law cannot be explained for all set of words and all set of changes. Here, see, what happens is bratra in Sanskrit, which means brother, when it got changed to Gothic word brother, the bra, the Mahaprana bha became ba. That is okay, but the ta, it should not have become the. It should have become tha. Here, according to this table, tha will become tha. So it should have become brother. But instead in Gothic it has become brother. So the D has come, the D has come instead of the. So such exceptions are there. So in order to accommodate these exceptions, another person called Karl Werner, he came up with a different law. I have not included Werner's law here because it was not asked in the paper. Okay. So remember Grimm's law. Grimm's law can come for short notes or it can be an essay question on Dvani Niyama. Short notes have also been asked. Another set of, is Grimm's law okay? Have you understood?
That is fine, but what was this point about something cannot be applied same level you were mentioning? Say that again.
What? Sorry, I didn't get you.
You were giving example of bhrata and brother. You said only somewhere there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I go back to
something cannot be applied at the same level, like if when we are taking one level then we can't apply the same level or something like that.
Yeah. Here, see, when we are talking about brata, there are two letters, bra and ta. So if you are changing bra, the change will occur only at the first letter, because bra is the first letter. The change is only at the first letter. You cannot change bra and shift that change to the second letter. So when you're changing bha, it will only change ba, and the ba is again the first letter of the changed word also. You cannot change ta instead of ba. Okay. If you're changing ta, the rule for ta will apply for ta. You cannot interchange the rule or you cannot interchange the position. because bha and ba, the beginning will still remain ba. That is the point. Okay, it cannot. You cannot have some other word totally. You cannot have like how do I say? Yeah. Say for example, you cannot say bhrata as anna. There is no rule which says that bhrata has become anna. Bha cannot become a. Okay, bhrata. Only when it is brother or brother, you can explain this particular rule where the ba has become ba. So the position of change is the same. You cannot change it in a different level. It cannot be the second or the third syllable that is changing. If it is the first syllable you are taking up for change, again in the new word, the first syllable only will change. That is what I said.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Another law or niyama under this is Grassmann's law. This has also been asked for short notes. Okay. What he said was his law is limited to the Mahaprana. His law is actually much more wider, but we will look at only this part of it. That if a Mahaprana or a consonant is followed by another Mahaprana in the next syllable, then the first one loses its aspiration. So the first Mahaprana will become an Alpaprana. So Mahaprana plus Mahaprana, one next to the other, then the first Mahaprana will become Alpaprana. This is the theory of Grassmann. So this is what he said. Example for this, Buddha. Okay. So in case of Buddha, you have Bha andUdha. So Bha is also Mahaprana andUdha, Dha is also Mahaprana. So when you combine these two, the final form will be Buddha. So in words like Buddha, the first one, Ba, is always Alpaprana because of this rule where two Mahapranas come next to each other. The first one becomes Alpaprana. We actually tried to get some explanation from Nilesh ji according to this thing, but he said that the intervening U there, the swara, will not allow this particular rule according to Panini. There was something else, some other discussion. It went to different places, but let us not confuse all that. According to Grassmann, two Mahapranas, he is not worried about the vowel in between. He does not take it as separate. According to him, two Mahapranas, one after the other. The first Mahaprana loses its aspiration and it becomes an Alpaprana. So, Bhu, Budh, you will have Buddha. The first Bha will become Ba. Similarly, when we take Dha, the Dhatu, so Dha, Dha, Mi. So, Dha plus Dha plus Mi. So, Dha, Dha, Mi, when you combine, it becomes Dadhami. The first Dha loses its aspiration, it becomes Alpaprana. So, you have Dadhami. Similarly, Bha, Bhu, Va. So, Bha and Bhu both are Mahapranas. When you combine, it becomes Babhuva. It is the first one loses its aspiration, it becomes Alpaprana. So, this is Grassmann's law. Okay. So, Grimm's law, remember this table. This table is enough, you can explain it. It's very easy. Grassmann's law, remember, it is about two Mahapranas coming one after the other. The first Mahaprana loses its aspiration and it becomes Alpaprana. These are the three examples I found in the internet along with the Grassmann's law explanation. Examples so this is what I have taken. I could not come up with any other example. I did not get any other reference. So
for
this is about
for Grimm's law, please draw the triangle.
No, I didn't want to draw the triangle simply because
not here in the notes in the this, but in the exam.
No, Divya, that's what I'm trying to say. I didn't want to draw the triangle because the fourth part is not the same as the first part. See, when you say the triangle, three ends. The first one becoming the second one becoming the third. The third does not become the first again. The change there is something different. There are three limbs to it. But the fourth point and the first point are not the same. So, in my perception, a triangle does not represent Grimm's law. Because it's not a closed structure.
Okay. But so apparently, this is what Madam said. First thing, you draw a triangle so that it is. I think it's known, famous for that. Visually, when someone says, I think it is the visual.
We have a few more things to cover. Shall I continue?
Yeah, please.
Can you hear me? Is it audible? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I have lost power. I think you can hear me. I cannot hear you. I'll just continue as long as the laptop battery works. Okay. May not be for a long time. If there is a break, then we will have to continue tomorrow. Okay. Varnatmaka Bhasha Shastra. This is called descriptive linguistics. Okay. So linguistics, basically, it is the scientific study of a language. The branch of the system of study of a language is called linguistics. So again, the definition of language we have already seen. Language is an arbitrary vocal symbol by means of which a social group cooperates or they communicate with each other. It is used for communication. Then it consists of orally produced meaningful words and sentences. Then language is also called to be a system of three distinguishable systems. Okay, so what are we trying to understand here is that language consists of three different things. First, there is the sound or the phonological system, which talks about the sound, the speech sounds that are produced. Then the second is the morphological system or the words that are formed. So first you have the sound. From the sound, how the words are formed. The morphological system covers the formation of words, how the words are formed. Then once the words are formed, you go to the next level, which is the sentence. So this is the syntactic system or the system of sentences. So therefore, a language is called a system of systems. Okay, so you have three systems: the systems of sound, which is the phonological system. Then you have the system of words, which is the morphological system. Then you have the system of sentences, which is the syntactic system. So all these systems together are what defines a language. So a language has all these three systems. Then the study of the language itself, that is linguistic itself, it developed in two stages. Okay, the first or the primitive stage was called the descriptive school of linguistics, or this was also called as structural school. So Varnanatmaka Bhasha Shastra, this term, it means the descriptive. Varnanatmaka, you know, is descriptive. So remember, Varnanatmaka Bhasha Shastra is the descriptive linguistics. So this is the first school. Based on the theories of the descriptive school of linguistics, further later transformational generative school of linguistics developed. Okay, so the primitive or the theory was the descriptive school of linguistics. Then this was pioneered by a person called Bloomfield and his followers. They followed this descriptive school of linguistics. Then it was popular between 1935 and 1960. After 1960, you have the TG school or the transformational generative school of linguistics, which is popular even today. Then the descriptive school, they had a set of basic theoretical assumptions about any particular language. They said that these are the things we will assume about a language, and based on these assumptions, we will study the language. So what are these theoretical assumptions? First of all, every language has its own structure unrelated to the structure of any other language. Okay. Then a native speaker is a person who has learned the language as a mother tongue, okay, from his parents or the family. He is the one who is going to represent this particular structure. So first point, a language has its own structure. This structure is represented by a native language speaker who has learned it as a mother tongue or from the family. Remember, this is not an acquired language. He has not learned it at a later stage. But this is a mother tongue which he has learned at the young. This may be the first language that he has learned. So as a mother tongue from the family or the immediate surroundings. So such a person becomes the native speaker. Then this structure, it can be studied, analyzed and described based on the specimen provided by the native speaker. So the native speaker, he actually becomes the informant. So he is helping the linguist. A person who is studying linguistics is a linguist. So he is helping the linguist to study and analyze this particular language. So he will give specimens like, how do you say what is your name? Nin Hesrenu is the specimen that he is going to provide. So the linguist will make a note of that sentence and then he will analyze it, how it has come, how it is derived, and all that. So he is the native speaker becomes the informant, and he is going to give the language specimen. Then description of the structural grammar of the language is derived at the end of the analysis. So what does the linguist do with the specimen? He is going to analyze it completely. He is going to study it in detail, analyze, and he is going to come up with the structure of grammar. So we are very familiar with the Karaka and other things in Sanskrit grammar. So how the sentence actually is formed. So these things, the grammatical aspects are understood and analyzed, and they come up with the structural grammar. This is called the structural grammar of the language. Where does this structural grammar help? How does it help? So this structural grammar is useful for a person who is trying to learn or teach the grammar. So you have to say a person what is the karta, what is the karma, what is the kriya pada, only then the person can learn a language. So this structural grammar, which is being derived out of the analysis of the specimen provided by the native speaker, this structural grammar is used for learning and teaching the language. And the last assumption that they have made is the language is a learnt behavior. It is learnt by observation and imitation. Okay. So this is about the descriptive school of linguistics. Only these points need to be remembered. Based on this theory, the further few more advancements were done, and the transformational generational school of linguistics, that generative school of linguistics, they have come up with their own theory. But the basic points of any linguistic school is this. Even in that, they make use of the native speaker, the specimen, everything is the same. Okay. This is about descriptive school of linguistics. Then, what happens is, we have short notes on Dvani Vijnana or phonetics and phonemics. These things can actually be written for this answer also, for the descriptive school of linguistics also. It can include the following details. So what is phonetics or Dvani Vijnana? In order to gather the specimen correctly, a linguist should be able to identify the sound uttered by the informant and represent it in an unambiguous and consistent writing system. Okay, see, because when you say ah, if you write it in English, it's going to be a. A person reading it, how will he know whether it is ah or a? You don't know. And whether it is ah or a. So these ambiguities should not arise. So they have adopted a universal phonetic script. Okay, this is not like any language. This is a separate script altogether. Something like your shorthand. You have particular symbols for everything. So like that, they have adopted a universal phonetic script, which is used by the linguist to make note of the language specimen that the native speaker is providing. So whatever information he is gathering, he has to write it in this particular script only. Then the branch of linguistics which deals with identifying the speech sounds of any language and representing them in the form of writing is called phonetics. Okay, so that is Dvani Vijnana. So to be able to identify what the person is speaking, to understand it correctly, and then represent it in writing properly. Because we know that even in Indian languages, although they sound very similar, most of the languages sound like Hindi, but there are differences. Like if you take Bengali, they have their own way of saying. It could be the same word, but there is more of that O sound kind of a thing. So when you write it, you cannot write it just like writing Hindi, because the pronunciation changes there. So depending on the pronunciation, you have to use the phonetic script only for representing that particular language, or any language for that matter. So therefore, the universal phonetic script is adopted, and this method of identifying the speech sound and representing them in the form of writing is called phonetics or Dvani Vijnana. Then we have something called as phonemics. Okay, phonemics is Dvanima Vijnana. Okay, what is Dvanima? This Dvanima are also called as phonemes. Okay, the study of phonemes is called phonemics. What are phonemes? Phonemes are significant sounds of a language. Okay, sounds, when we say significant sounds, we mean sounds whose presence or absence can alter the meaning of the word in a language. Okay, example, uri, kuri, guri, all the Kannada words. So the basic word there is uri. When you add ka to it, it becomes kuri. Uri means burning. Kuri means sheep, I think. When you, instead of ka, if you add ga, it is guri. Guri means aim. So the ka and the ga, by addition of which the meaning of the word uri changes, are called phonemes, because these are significant sounds of the language Kannada. This is just one example. So uri can become kuri or guri with the influence of ka or ga. So therefore ka or ga becomes the important sound there. Okay, if when you are talking, if you don't pronounce it correctly, you will end up miscommunicating. So the ka or ga attains importance. So that is the significant sound, and such significant sounds are called phonemes. Okay, so such phonemes are studied under phonemics. Phonemes are called dvanima, and phonemics is called dvanima vijnana. Now, after all this, the descriptive school, it later changed to transformational generative school. Then, moving on, the next one is simple and complex sentences. Sarala Vakyani. We have a short notes on Sarala Vakyani. I have included Mishra Vakyani also under this, so in case there is a reason, you can give an example of both. Now, Sarala Vakyani are simple sentences. What are simple sentences? Simple sentences are those that have only two constituents. That is, it has a subject and a predicate. You know the two parts of a sentence, a subject and a predicate. Subject, the karta, all the remaining part becomes the predicate, that which involves the verb, the kriya that is done. So that comes under the predicate part of it. So in case of a simple sentence, you have the predicate has only one verb. Okay, one second, the power is back. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Harini.
I'm still not able to hear you. Okay, anyway, I'll continue. So here, a simple sentence has a subject and a predicate, and remember the predicate has only one verb. So if it has only one verb, then it is a simple sentence. Example, Ramaha dhavati. Okay, this is a simple sentence because there is only one verb. Then look at the next sentence. Mama anujaha bharataha shigram dhavati. You may have a number of words in the sentence. The sentence can have 4 or 5 or even more words, but the verb or the kriya pada is only one. When the kriya pada is only one, it is a sarala vakya or a simple sentence. Mama anujaha bharataha shigram dhavati. So you have here visheshana padas and descriptive words for the noun as well as the verb, but ultimately the verb is only one. So it is still a simple sentence. Similarly, Prakhyatashva Rama Asyam Spardhayam Dhavati. Again here, Dhavati, there is only one verb. So this is a simple sentence. Divya, this part is there in the book. It is there in the material. The meanings are all in English. I mean, the examples are all in English. I have translated it into Sanskrit. If you can just mention the block in the Kannada block on the page number, maybe it may be
block 20. Page 23, 24, I think.
Okay. Since I'm not able to hear you, I'm continuing.
Yeah, it is in block 3. Block 20.
Sentences. Complex sentences are those where two or more simple sentences are joined together. Okay. So when you join two things, in the green color is the main clause here, and the other part or the rest of it becomes the subordinate clause. Okay. Consider the example. Dasharatha putraha Ramaha Ravanam samharati. Okay. So here you have two parts of the sentence, two simple sentences here. First sentence is Ramaha Dasharatha putraha. Rama is the son of Dasharatha putra. So that is one clause here. One sentence on its own. Okay. So since it has two different sentences, it is a complex sentence. Now here Ramaha Ravanam samharati. This is the main clause of the sentence, of the complex sentence. Ramaha Dasharatha putraha. Asti is actually here in bracket. Asti is not there directly, but it is only for understanding that I put, just to say that there are two verbs here in this particular sentence. So Ramaha Dasharatha putraha will become the subordinate clause. So such sentences which has a main clause and a subordinate clause come under complex sentence. Similarly, Dasharatha putraha Ramaha Lankapatim Ravanam samharati. So here we have three parts. Ramaha Ravanam samharati, which is the main clause. Ramaha Dasharatha putraha Ravanaha Lankapatihi. So you have a description for Ravana also here. So here you have two subordinate clause and one main clause. So even in such cases, the sentence is a complex sentence. Then there is another category called compound sentence. So what is the difference between complex and compound? Here there are two or more independent main clauses with or without subclauses. Okay. So if there is only one main clause with many subordinate clause, it becomes complex. If there are two or more main clause, number of main clause itself is more, then it is a compound sentences. So here you're actually linking two main sentences are combined here to form a single sentence. It will be clear when we look at the example. Aham kadali phalam khadami cha saha amraphalam kadati. The sentence may not be from Sanskrit understanding, it may not be very true, but correct in a sense that I am eating a banana and he is eating mango. So this is a literal translation, so I just put the cha in between. But just remember that aham kadali phalam kadami is a main clause on its own, and saha amraphalam kadati is again a main clause. So when two main clauses are combined in a sentence, it becomes a compound sentence. Okay. Then the next example is where the compound sentence comes with a subclause. So subclause is actually optional. You may or may not have a subclause. So what happens when you have a subclause? Asvastaha Ramaha Samskarita Yusham Pivati Cha Svastaha Krishnaha Paramannam Khadati. So here Ramaha Samskarita Yusham Pivati. That is the main clause there. So Ramaha Samskarita Yusham Pivati. The subclause for Rama here is Ramaha Asvastaha. Rama is unwell, he is sick, so he is eating medicated gruel, Samskarita Yusham Pivati. Then what happens to the other part of the sentence? Krishnaha Paramannam Khadati. Krishna is eating Paramanna. That is the main clause there. And Krishnaha Swastaha. Krishna is healthy is the subclause there. So remember, if it is a compound sentence, it can have two or more independent main clauses. Number of main clauses can be added together. But in a complex sentence, there is only one main clause with a few subclauses. But in a simple sentence, there is only one verb. Only one verb, simple, one main clause, a couple of subordinate clauses, it is complex. More than one main clause itself, it is a compound sentence. This is about types of sentences. Then, Ekavarna Lopa. This is called haplology. Okay. Now, when when the same syllable is repeated twice consecutively, when two consecutive identical or similar syllables occur, then one syllable is eliminated or lopa happens. You will understand this when I am giving you the example. The word England is actually derived from Ingla land. So here you can see there is L here and L here also. So when you combine, it is not England but England. So this one L has become Lopa. So this is Ekavarna Lopa. This is called haplology. Then morphophonology. In this example, you can see pho. It occurs twice. So when you combine, the final word is morphonology. One pho has become Lopa. Coercitive. Okay. This was an old usage. Right now it is obsolete. They don't use this usage anymore. Coercitive has become coercive because C and T, they are similar sounding syllables. So this T has become Lopa here. So it is coercive. Then mononomial has become monomial. Okay, nomial, name, mono, one. So mononomial, when it combines, has become monomial. Then these two are my examples. Just for understanding, I just added this. Generally, in the Hindi belt or the North Indian Sanskrit pronunciation, you can see them saying Sama Veda. They will not pronounce it fully. They will say Sam Ved. So I felt that the here and the towards the end, the Veda. So these things have become Lopa. So this can also be an example for Ekavarna Lopa. This has come as practice. Okay, so Sama Veda becoming Sam Ved, and from grammar I was able to get this example. Vyagra Pada. There is a sutra which says that the last akara in Pada, it becomes Lopa. Pado Lopo Ahastibhyam. That, I think something like that is a sutra. So Vyagra Pada, the last akara becomes Lopa, so it becomes Vyagra Pat. So I think you can code these two also for Ekavarna Lopa or haplology. Okay. If you have any doubts or if you are trying to interrupt it because I'm not able to hear you, if you're trying to interrupt, please buzz me on WhatsApp. I will look into the main screen because I'm only looking to my notes. I'm not able to see the main screen. Okay. Then the next one is Shatam Kentum. Okay. Satum and Centum. This has also been asked in the short notes. The Indo-European language family, which we discussed in detail, it was linguistically divided into two groups, okay, named Satum and Centum. Okay, this was only for convenience sake, no practical usage. You just need to remember it for the sake of remembering. Okay. Now, the chief criterion for the classification is the treatment of the original Indo-European palatal sounds. The swaras, the and Siddhanta Kaumudi pattern, so similar to that. So you have sounds which are grouped as palatals, velars, and the labio-velars. Okay, palatals are the thalavyas, velars are the kantya, labio-velars are the kantaushta. This is the classification. So what he says is in the Satum group, okay. Originally, the velars and the labio-velars, that is the kantya and the kantaushta, they coincided. Okay, they coincided, and the palatals have developed into sibilants. Okay, the talavya they have developed into something called sibilants. What we need to remember here is the Satum group contains Sanskrit, Avestan, Old Persian, Albanian, Armenian, Baltic, and Slovenic. Even if you don't remember the last four, remember that Satum group contains Sanskrit and Avestan. Okay. Then the word Satum is derived from the Avestan word meaning 100. Okay. So where these things were grouped, how these things were grouped is what decides the Satum and the Centum. In the Centum group, the velars and the palatals, they coincide. Okay, so the talavya and the kantya, they coincide, and the labio-velars are separate. But in Satum, it is the velars and the labio-velars which coincide. Don't ask me how they coincide. What is the change? I don't know. This is only the explanation of this particular concept. What does the Centum group contain? It contains languages like Greek, Latin, Germanic, Celtic, and Tocharian. And we know that Centum is derived from the Latin word which means 100. Okay, so that is about Satum, Centum. Then Akshara Pallata This is based on what Divya told me. I think she heard it in the class, in the contact class. So, Akshara Pallata, if we compare some of the Indian languages, we see that the letter V, it becomes B in in Bengali. Chakravarti, in any other South Indian language or any other Indian language for that matter, becomes Chakraborty in Bengali. So V becoming B, or Pa in Tamil becoming Ha in Kannada. Palu, Halu, Puvu, Huvu, or Ya becoming Ja. Because in certain dialects of Hindi, especially in the North India, what we see is Yamuna is actually called Jamuna, and Brindavan is called Brindavan. So these changes, these are attributed to the regional differences, okay, and the change in the dialects based on that particular area. So this is called Akshara Pallata. I don't have any more detail for this particular concept. Then the last one is Swara Bhakti. Now, Swara Bhakti is, in order to make the pronunciation simpler and easier, introduction of a letter, which is usually a swara, in Samyukta Akshara is done. When you see the examples, it is more clear. This introduction of a swara in a Samyukta Akshara is called Swara Bhakti. Okay, Indra, the word, you have Dra as a Samyukta Akshara, two Vyanjanas there. So Indra becomes Indira. Prithvi becomes Prithivi. Chandra becomes Chandira. Swarna becomes Suvarna. Okay, just to make the pronunciation easier. That's the whole concept behind Swara Bhakti. Then we also find such changes or Swara Bhakti in differences between Sanskrit and Prakrit when we compare Sanskrit and Prakrit. So Shri in Sanskrit is actually Siri in Prakrit. So they have tried to split it, and it has become Siri. Sneha is Saneha. Klishta is Killishta. Prasada is Parasada. So such things are seen in Prakrit language, differentiating itself from Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Then sometimes a Vyanjana may come in between. So Sunara actually became Sundara. So you have the introduction of the, which is a new Vyanjana, Sundara. Then Vanara became, it should have become Vandara, and then because of Akshara Pallata, it should have become Bandara. I don't know, but Vanara becoming Bandara. This is also an example for Swara Bhakti, where a Vyanjana has been introduced. So with this, I complete my presentation on linguistics. It is Killita. Okay, it must be Killita. I wrote down from your notes. Maybe I made a mistake reading your book. I take it. Yeah. Klishta became Killita. Fine. I will change it in my thing. Okay, Killita. So that is my thing on linguistics. Nivedita, if you can just stop the broadcast and you can just let me reconnect, then I think I should be able to hear you.